P. Purpose. Why is the author writing this story? Finding author's purpose. Why is the author writing this story? It can be as easy as P-I-E, pie. After reading a text, we have to ask ourselves certain questions about the text. Author's purpose is why the author wrote the story. He might have written it to persuade us, inform us, or even just entertain us. We have to look for clues in the story. Author's purpose. I need to ask myself, did the author try to change my opinion? Did the author try to convince me of something? If so, he was trying to persuade me. Author's purpose. Did the author give me facts? Did the author try to teach me something? If so, he was trying to inform me of good information. And lastly, I need to ask, did the author try to make me laugh? Did the author try to tell me a story? If so, he was looking to entertain me. Let's eat pie by looking at the author's purpose in our story.
Okay guys, so just like you saw in the lesson this week, our comprehension skill, our main goal for the week is to be able to identify the author's purpose after we read a story. So we're going to practice one together, and you guys are going to try it on your own. So author's purpose, when we are reading, we should be asking ourselves the question, why did the author write this story? All authors have a purpose or a reason for the things they write. Sometimes they're writing to persuade, they may be writing to inform, or they may be writing to entertain. So that acronym there helps you remember author's purpose. It's easy as PIE, P-I-E. After reading, you can ask yourself these questions to help you identify the author's purpose. You should ask, did the author try to change my opinion? Did the author try to convince me of something? If so, he's trying to persuade me. Did the author give me facts? Did the author try to teach me something? If so, his purpose was to inform. Did the author try to make me laugh? Did the author try to tell me a story? Now, this make me laugh part can be a little deceiving, so think more along the lines of, is he telling me a story with those story elements like characters, a setting, a plot, with a problem, a solution? If the story has those items, then the author is trying to entertain us. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to read you guys a short story here. And after we read it, we're going to try to identify the author's purpose. And then we're going to go back and support our answer with text evidence or clues from the story. So the title of this story is The Land Volcanoes Built by Patricia Allen Lynch. And just looking at the title and some of the text features, you can see like this diagram and the headings. I'm already predicting as a reader, this is probably going to be an informational text or nonfiction. Looks like I'm going to be learning about volcanoes in this story. Okay, so that's already a pretty good hint about author's purpose, but I'm going to go ahead and start reading to make sure. The island of Hawaii spread over many miles of ocean. 8 large islands and 124 small ones are in the chain. Each island is really the top of a mountain that pokes out of the sea. How were those islands formed? The answer is volcanoes. What is a volcano? A volcano is an opening or vent that goes deep into the earth. Deep within the earth, it is so hot that rock melts. The melted rock is called magma. Sometimes magma is pushed up and pours out over the volcano. Then the magma is called lava. The lava cools and hardens. It builds up. Over time, it can form a tall mountain. Each of the Hawaiian islands formed this way. Now, we're going to take time to study this diagram because we learned that anytime an author includes a text feature like this, I need to study it closely because there's probably important information for the reader in this text feature. Hot lava, gases, and rock flow from the volcano. Pressure builds, pushing magma upward. Rock melts into magma. Lava cools and hardens and becomes part of the land. Up here it's showing us that magma pushes towards the Earth's surface through cracks. Okay, and that's what causes a volcano to erupt. So this diagram, this picture with labels, is kind of trying to explain to us how a volcano erupts. Life arrives. At first, the islands were bare. Waves rippled on empty shores. Life came much later. Wind and water carried plant seeds. Sea animals such as monk seals swam there. Other animals made the voyage aboard objects floating in the sea. The arrival of birds brought song. The first people paddled in canoes from other islands. The stars guided them across the Pacific Ocean. The travelers spotted the islands. They dropped anchor in a calm bay and came ashore. The new islands were good places to live. There was plenty of fresh water to drink and lots of food. The leaves of the coconut tree could be used to build thatched shelters. Coconut husks could be twisted into strong rope. These people became the first Hawaiians. And look down here at this picture. The caption says, people from China, Japan, Samoa, the Philippines, and other countries live in Hawaii today. So now that I've read the story, we're going to use this map here to kind of help us organize our thoughts as we try to identify the author's purpose. So I'm going to go straight back to these questions we were talking about earlier. I'm going to ask myself, did the author try to change my opinion? Did the author try to convince me of something? So as you think back through what we read, was there any evidence here that the author was trying to convince us or talk us into doing something? Was he trying to change our opinion? If he was, you're going to see reasons or ideas of why we should or shouldn't do something. Words like, this is better, or this is the best, or things like that. And I didn't see any of that in this story. So I'm going to answer this question, no. And I know that the author's purpose of this story is not to persuade, because there was no evidence the author was trying to change my opinion or convince me of something. If I asked, did the author give me facts? Did the author try to teach me something? Well, for this story, I can answer yes to that question. I learned about how volcanoes erupt. I learned about how plants and animals came to live on the Hawaiian Islands. So yes, I learned a lot of information in this story. So I'm going to put a little check mark by that. Because I'm thinking right now that the author's purpose was probably to inform. But I'm not going to make my final decision until I check that last possible answer. Did the author try to make me laugh? Did the author try to tell me a story? When we talk about telling a story, we're thinking about story elements. Were there characters? Was there a setting? Did we see a plot unfold or a sequence of events? And the answer to all these questions is no. I didn't laugh in that story. There were no characters. There was no setting. There wasn't a sequence of events that told a story. So I'm going to say the author's purpose was not to entertain. So there's my author's purpose. The author's purpose of this story was to inform the reader. Okay. Now, I have to come up with evidence, though. What can I put in these boxes up here that's my proof? How do I know the author's purpose was to inform? Okay, so what facts did we learn? What information did you learn from reading this? I learned that the Hawaiian Islands were made from volcanoes. So I'm going to type that in here. The Hawaiian Islands were made from volcanoes. That's a fact I learned. I also learned how volcanoes erupt. From the diagram. So I'm just going to write the diagram taught me how volcanoes erupt. Again, so a fact or information I learned from reading the story. And lastly, I learned how life came to the islands. There in that last section of the text, it talks about how, the islands were formed from volcanoes. So they started out just being hard rock, but over time, wind blew in seeds, the ocean waves washed seeds ashore, birds arrived, ocean animals swam there, and eventually even people started canoeing over to explore this new place. So slowly, over many, many years, life came to Hawaii, and now, today, many people and many animals and many plants call Hawaii home. So, if we think about all of our text evidence, looking at each of these ideas I plugged into my map, each of these are facts or information I learned, further proving or supporting my inference or my idea that the purpose of the story, The Land Volcanoes Built, was to inform the reader. So now that we worked on one together, I want you guys to try to do the same steps with our story for the week. So think back as we read Dog of Sea Waves. Think about those questions we ask ourselves after reading. Did the author try to change my opinion or convince me of something? If so, he's persuading. Did he teach me facts or teach me something? If so, his purpose was to inform. Or did he make me laugh, or did he just tell a story with those story elements like character, setting, and apply? If so, his purpose is probably to entertain. Ask yourself those questions after you read back through our story of the week, and then you're going to use your own inferencing map to identify the author's purpose of the story. And when you're finished, we're going to review our ideas together, and we're going to share it with the class and see how we did.